Role in Commando basically made her global, a global brand. Like, people in Japan knew who she was.
She was huge in Japan. You know, at David Hasselhoff had Germany, Alyssa Milano had Japan.
Building on her popularity, Alyssa began a singing career in Japan that would see her release 4 chart-topping pop albums in just 3 years, enthralling her adoring Japanese fans.
And she still has a fan base there. People still listen to her music, and DJs have even come out and remixed some of her singles.
She had a whole nother career as a pop star in Japan where she did 5 albums, including a best of album. They all went platinum. And she even had an advice column called Ask Alyssa. Kids would write into her about, dating problems, growing problems, puberty problems, and she would answer their questions.
Where people knew her as Sam Maselli in the United States, the world knew her as a pop star, knew her as Arnold Schwarzenegger's daughter from Commando.
But despite her growing success in movies and with pop albums, Alyssa was still best known as Sam Maselli.
She was on television from the time she was 12 until 19. And so she went through puberty on television.
Her sexuality and her womanhood was blossoming before our eyes. I think Tony Danza and those guys tried their best to keep her contained in as many ways as possible. But there's only so much you can do. You could try to contain it, but you can't shut it down. Over the years of watching the show, most of us soon realized that we weren't watching to experience Tony Danza's crackling wit. It was more about watching Sam blossom into womanhood.
American audiences adopted Samantha as their own.
You start to feel as if she is your friend, is your daughter, is your sister, is the girl next door.
Alyssa continued to expand her horizons in the late 1980s.
Alyssa actually did a workout video called Teen Steam, which promoted youth fitness and healthy living. She really sort of caught the beginning of that crest of exercise videos done by celebrities.
Meeting with anyone. Producers wouldn't meet with her, nothing.
The once successful actress was at a painful crossroads. She would have to think long and hard about whether she wanted to continue in show business. And if the answer was yes, she would have to totally revamp her image. By 1992, 19-year-old Alyssa Milano had a successful sitcom career, a solid family foundation, and worldwide popularity as Samantha Maselli from the hit TV show Who's the Boss. But after Who's the Boss ran its course, she faced the challenge of transitioning from child star to working actor.
When the show ended, it meant what's next? There isn't that same stability of working 7-hour days and having the weekends off. So she had to kind of find a way to create an edginess to her because she was kind of too old to be playing the family person now.
She didn't want to be seen as this cute, innocent girl or, the tough girl from Brooklyn. So what she did, and what a lot of young actresses do, is they sex up their career. They show that they can take a little clothing off, and that's a great way to gain some interest.
So she made the decision to take it a notch in a direction that no one would ever have expected and pose nude for a magazine called Bikini Magazine, just to sort of almost be like, hey, look, I'm not Samantha Maselli. I'm grown up. I'm in my 20s now.
And this spread in Bikini Magazine was the first step in redefining who Alyssa Milano was.
That's a huge shock. You see this girl growing up, and we remember her when she was 12 years old on Who's the Boss, and all of a sudden you see her topless. That's a big deal, and that's pretty insane to see.
So the boys who had been in love with her all those years were finally rewarded with, the real deal after fantasizing it for all these years.
Not surprisingly, shedding her clothes caused a stir in Hollywood.
I think anytime a star takes off their clothes in order to...
Someone a little sexier, somebody who'd be a love interest rather than a daughter. This was her opportunity to kind of just come into her own, because at 19 years old, this was what a 19-year-old would be doing.
It was a risk, and it was a risk maybe some would have advised her not to take, but ultimately we wouldn't even be hearing her name right now if she hadn't made that seemingly minor decision that really was the catalyst for the next phase of her career.
Not long after the steamy bikini magazine hit newsstands, Alyssa was cast in the role of infamous bad girl Amy Fisher in the made-for-TV movie Casualties of Love, the Long Island Lolita story.
By taking this role, Alyssa sort of took the idea of the idyllic suburbs and just sort of completely flipped it. There couldn't be more disparate characters than Sam Maselli and Amy Fisher.
She had to be like, okay, so I took my clothes off, but I can also play the part. Like, I'm versatile in my acting. You know, see, I played Samantha Maselli. I was this, you know, good girl who lives in the suburbs with my, like, kooky dad, you know. And now here I am playing one of the most notorious temptresses, murderesses, you know, seductresses, you know, of the 90s.
Joey, I want one of these shirts.
Sorry, we don't give these out to customers. But I'll give you a promotional t-shirt if you want one.
Wait a minute. You mean all the business I give you guys, I don't rate one of these shirts?
Her doing a TV movie on Amy Fisher isn't exactly an Oscar award-winning role, but you know what? She played this interesting character that was dirty and scandalous, and we are able to see that Alyssa Milano could play characters other than Samantha Maselli. People really liked it. It was a trashy role, but it was also a lot of fun to watch.
As Alyssa continued to work overtime at redefining her image and her career, her personal life was blossoming. After years on the high-profile dating circuit, by 1993, it appeared as if she was ready to settle down at the ripe old age of 21.
Alyssa got engaged to Party of Five Scott Wolf, who was the current male babe du jour.
Alyssa was in love, validating her feelings by adding Scott's initials to what was becoming a growing list of tattoos.
But it's really hard. Two actors in Hollywood dating each other, getting married, breaking up. It's not an easy thing. Your schedule's so busy.
Alyssa and Scott were both pretty big deals in the early 90s, and I think that it was really difficult for them given both of their schedules, given that her career was at a very difficult spot and his was on the rise, for them to really mesh.
And sadly, that's what tears everyone apart. That's why these relationships don't work, because you're based in a business that's solely about yourself. It's about the advancement of your career and also the advancement in how the public eye views you. When two people are both working on this thing together, unfortunately, your relationship doesn't always work.
The tattoo would last long.
Played the lead role in Embrace of the Vampire, where she does play this virginal character who goes off to college, you know, living this pristine life, and then gets seduced by a vampire and then turns evil. So this went straight to video. This wasn't exactly like an Emmy Award-winning feature, but this was a continuation of Bikini, of Amy Fisher story. So she was now on this pigeonholed path.
Have you come to see if I'm okay too, Milo?
Well, yeah. You were taking a pretty heavy trip back there.
And what do you want to do to make me feel better?
Me? Well, I don't know.
Come on, Milo. What's on your mind? Honesty will get you everywhere.
Once again, we see Alyssa Milano as a kind of evil temptress and seductress, and she's topless once again, you know, in this movie that does go straight to video, and I think everyone kind of felt a little bad for her. You know, she was putting an effort out there to try something, but it definitely wasn't successful.
The shocking nudity throughout 1995's Embrace of the Vampire caused quite a commotion and helped put the finishing touches on Alyssa's reinvention. Though the film did little to impress anyone other than pubescent teenage boys, it did help lead to her next softcore skin flick. Poison Ivy 2 saw Alyssa show her assets once more.
Well, you know, a lot of people criticize actresses for doing B roles or movies that go straight to video, but the thing is, Alyssa Milano is an actress, and she's been doing this since such a young age. And she's smart, she knows that these aren't great movies, but what she did want to do was work.
She has to be very careful now that she's not now going to pigeonhole herself as being the bad girl from now on. I mean, you know, she's already done a brilliant job of breaking away from the sitcom girl. Now she's in this very precarious position in her career where does she only want to play the bad girl from now on? Does she only want to be the sex pot from now on? I mean, there's a lot more to her. She's a lot more range than that.
In the 3 short years since the end of Who's the Boss, Alyssa Milano had gone from good girl to bad girl. She had made herself viable again by cultivating a sex kitten image. Though the image change kept money coming in, she was not respected in the industry. She was in danger of being relegated to the B-movie graveyard, and there was little reason to believe that she'd ever make